Can you make high-quality craft-style cocktails with a bottle of Amaretto? And spoiler alert, yes, you can. One of my favorite styles of videos is to take a bottle of a liqueur or a modifier and work it up into a bunch of cocktails. It's fun for me, and it might be helpful to some of you that might have these ingredients sitting at home or on your bar, and you just don't really know what to do with them. Whether it's Liquor 43 or Chartreuse or Kahlua or even Disaronno. And for the longest time here, the video that I shared with the most views was a Disaronno video from a couple years ago. And most of those cocktails they're kind of average, basic, classics even, which I do actually like and appreciate. But I thought it would be nice to do an update with better cocktails. I will change up the Amaretto that I'm using today and use Lazzaroni. And according to Lazzaroni, they are the oldest Amaretto liqueur and made from infusing Lazzaroni Amaretti de Saronno cookies. So it's a different and interesting process to make this as well. This is also a good time to dispel some of the bad information online about Amarettos overall. First, an Amaretto is an almond-flavored Italian liqueur, but it doesn't have to be made in Italy. It's up to your country to make such rules. Most of the time, that almond flavor does not come from almonds, but instead, the oil of stone fruit pits. That's usually apricot, and you do not need to use almonds or almond oil to be called an Amaretto. There's no law that says that in this country or in Italy. In fact, many and almost all of the almond extracts that you can find are made from the oils from apricot pits. Even the almond extract that say on the back that they're made from almond oil, those are made from apricot oil. And you don't have to trust me on this because I reached out to this brand and they confirmed that to me in an email. The second myth to dispel is that Disaronno, the famous brand of Amaretto, is not Amaretto, that they were sued by other Amaretto makers and can no longer use the word Amaretto. That's not true. Instead, there's a more simple explanation. Disaronno is like other huge liqueurs. Primary examples here are Grand Marnier and Cointreau. A product popular or premium enough to transcend the category that they're in, and they don't need and maybe they don't even want to be labeled as being in that category. This will ruffle some feathers for sure here, but the same thing with Jack Daniel's. Jack Daniel's is bourbon, but they don't want to be called bourbon. They have their own thing going on. So for today's drinks, use whatever Amaretto you have, and I'll be using this one today, but feel free to use your Disaronno or anything else. First up, we're making Old Ironsides, and that's a cocktail from Death & Company, and the drink was created by Brian Miller, and we're using some rums in this one. Start with 1 dash of bitters, and I'm using Boker-style bitters, but the recipe calls for Fee Whiskey Barrel Aged. Just 1 teaspoon of Amaretto, 1 ounce of a red vermouth, half an ounce of Crucian Blackstrap rum, and 1.5 ounces of Scarlet Ibis rum. I'm going to strain this into a coupe, and there is no garnish. So there you go, Old Ironsides. It's a kind of standard Death & Company style cocktail from back in the mid 2000s, early 2010s, brown and stirred. So let's try it. Cheers. There's a nice sweet molassesy bitterness. Just a little bit of Crucian Blackstrap goes a very long ways. The vermouth, sweet vermouth comes through, I think, more than anything else, and then kind of the rum in the background there. The Amaretto, I don't know if I necessarily picked that up, but working with everything else to give a little more sweetness. And really, it tastes very balanced. It's like a very nice, balanced, stirred cocktail. So if you are a fan of those more traditional, stirred, strong cocktails, I think you'll like this one. The most famous of all Amaretto cocktails is the Amaretto Sour. And next to the Amaretto Sour, the most popular Amaretto cocktails are all basically riffs on the Amaretto Sour. Simple concept, you make a sour cocktail using lemon and an egg white, and instead of something like whiskey, as in a whiskey sour, you use Amaretto. They can be very good, and the most famous of all of the Amaretto Sours is from Jeffrey Morgenthaler, where he bolsters this drink with a cask-proof bourbon in addition to Amaretto. And Morgenthaler is well known for this drink. It's one of Robert Simonson's modern classics. And on Morgenthaler's website, he says, "I make the best Amaretto Sour in the world." Which would be true if when referring to he was referring to me, because I make the best Amaretto Sour in the world. And I'll show you how to make that in just a second. But before we do, the next two drinks are gonna call for an egg white. And you wanna make sure you put your egg white in at the end. Also, if you're using a fresh egg, it's best to crack that in a separate bowl or container first. But you wanna keep that to the end, because if you put that in the beginning and then you put in some lemon juice, you're going to cook the egg white right away. You'll see it actually kind of start to cook and congeal. So save that for the end. And in case you make a mistake, you're saving it for the end so you don't get any shell in there or anything like that. I'm gonna start with 1 teaspoon of a rich, simple syrup, 1 ounce of lemon juice, 1.5 ounces of our Amaretto, 3/4 ounces of a cask strength rum, and 1 egg white. You can dry shake this and then shake this with ice, or you can use the gifts that God gave you and use the old drink mixer, which will result in the world's best Amaretto Sour. I'll strain this into a rocks glass with 1 large ice cube. And I'll garnish with just a single cherry. So there you go, the world's best Amaretto Sour. Okay, let's try it and see. The drink mixer gave a nice frothy head to the drink that has just been sitting here nice and stable for the last few minutes. Cheers. That is one of the best, that is the best Amaretto Sour that has ever been made in the history of the world. But I do challenge anyone out there to share, I don't think you can, a better Amaretto Sour than this one. This is delicious. Next up, another Amaretto Sour, and we're gonna make the Amaretto Sour as made at the Grand Army Bar in Brooklyn. What makes it different from the traditional Amaretto Sour is the use of Campari. Now in this one, I'm gonna change it up too, because I'm gonna show you that while there are tons of alternatives to using egg white, a fresh egg white, including using bean juice, because I don't know if people know this, but aquafaba is a made-up term. Some guy put chickpea water in a cocktail. He knew it didn't sound good, so he called it aquafaba. It's a made-up word, but if you look online, there's a lot of alternatives to egg whites. Several videos out there of people making different things you can use, but you can also just go to the store and buy some liquid egg whites and use that instead. You want to get the kinds that are not seasoned or colored yellow to look like regular eggs, but that works fine. And right now, I do think it is going to be a little bit cheaper than buying fresh eggs. We'll do the old dry shake and then shake with ice here. I'm going to start with 1 ounce of lemon juice, 2 ounces of Amaretto, 1/4 ounce of Campari, and 1 egg white. So dry shake this with no ice. Now add some ice to your tin and shake. I'm gonna strain this into a rocks glass with 1 large ice cube. So there you go, the Amaretto Sour as made at the Grand Army Bar. All right, let's try the Grand Army Amaretto Sour. Cheers. That might be the perfect amount of Campari. There's a whispering hint of Campari. You can hate Campari, and I think you'll still like this. It's helping balance out the Amaretto. In this one, the Amaretto tastes much sweeter. In the last one, the Morgenthaler style one using the cask strength rum, the rum kind of steps on a lot of the Amaretto, I think in a really good way. This one has more of that Amaretto flavor, but that Campari it's a nice addition to it. Like it's very different yet familiar, and it's tasty. One more thing about the liquid egg whites is that the ones you buy in the store that are in a carton, they're pasteurized. So if you're worried about raw eggs, do that instead of using a raw egg. But, you know, I encourage you to go out and try all the egg alternatives if you want to. And I would encourage you to try both of these sours. Find a very heavy proof rum, because that is going to make the best Amaretto sour possible. And then if you want to try something kind of different and new and subtly bitter, the one from Grand Army is delicious. Next up is a drink called the Assunta, and it's from Simon Seba at St. Theo's in New York City. This is a riff on a mule and it's sweetened with Amaretto. Also mixing things up is that instead of vodka, we're going to use mezcal. And I chose a mezcal that, from the reviews I saw, a little less smoky, a little more entry level. I'm not that knowledgeable about it either, so what mezcal you should use, I don't know. I just chose this one because it's somewhat affordable, good for cocktails, and it's not super smoky. Start with 1 ounce of lime juice, ½ ounce of Amaretto, and 2 ounces of a mezcal. Go ahead and shake everything except for our ginger beer. Pour this into a Collins glass. Now I'll top with some ginger beer and garnish with a lime wedge. So there you go, the Assunta. All right, let's try it. Cheers. All right, this is another winner. It has the familiarity of any ginger beer with lime juice, like any mule. But the mezcal there, that is a delicious mezcal. It is smoky with a long, light smoky, lingering finish. I can still taste it right now. And there's like some creaminess to it as well. And you know, the earthiness you get from tequilas and mezcals. I'm very happy with this. There are times that I've had mezcal cocktails where I'll drink it, but it's maybe not my favorite. This is something I would order again and again. All right, we're moving on to another cocktail from Death & Company. It's called the Almond Brother, and it's in the Death & Company book, and it's from Jason Luttrell. Start with a 1/4 ounce of maple syrup, 1/4 ounce of orgeat, 3/4 ounces of lime juice, 1 teaspoon of an apricot liqueur, 1/4 ounce of amaretto, and 2 ounces of a reposado tequila. So there you go, the Almond Brother. Let's try it. Cheers. All right, we're doing great so far in this video. So far, we are 5 for 5. Trying to think of other words besides delicious. This is good, great. I don't know. It's delicious. You can taste each individual element in here, which I love a cocktail that has the somewhat looks simple. Complex if you look at the ingredient list: maple syrup, orgeat, lime juice, apricot liqueur, amaretto, and tequila. I almost forgot there was tequila in there. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. Tiny amounts of apricot liqueur like come through. Apricot with the amaretto, with the orgeat. Now we're dealing with like 3 components here that we associate with amarettos: the apricot kernel oil, orgeat, which my orgeat I use not just almonds, but almond extract, and then the amaretto. So it provides a different flavor from the rest of them because it's not that the Lazzaroni Amaretto that comes through the most. It's kind of like all of these things. And the maple syrup there too. And then like a finish there of a reposado tequila. Everything else still shines with 2 full ounces of tequila and not much more. Like all those other ingredients are like a 1/4 ounce and a teaspoon. So yeah, I don't know what else to say, but I do think that you should try this one. But yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to make a living, doing the best I can. Finally, we're going to close this out with one more cocktail called the Maitai ri'i. And I think those of you that come here often and watch a lot of my videos, you'll probably find this one to be pretty appealing to you. Start with 1 ounce of lime juice, half an ounce of amaretto, half an ounce of an orange liqueur, and 2 ounces of a fine Jamaican rum. I'll throw my spent lime shell into the glass. And garnish with some mint. Kind of looks like an island with some palm trees. So there you go, the Maitai ri'i. All right, before we try it, shameless plug. This glassware is for sale right now at the Make and Drink shop. There'll be a link to it in this episode's description. Cheers. It is good. I think that it's lacking like a touch more needed sweetness. I think maybe a 1/4 ounce of a rock candy syrup might work well here, just to kind of make it a little more well. Let's try that. Yeah, that helps. I think a 1/4 ounce, I'm gonna put that in the recipe in the episode's description. 1/4 ounce of an authentic rock candy syrup will really bring this together and transport you to a far off tropical island. Really, it's pretty delicious. There you go, folks. 6 amaretto cocktails. And out of all the videos I've done like this, I think that this is the best one. I think these are the best collection of cocktails in a single video that I've done. I think they're all really good, very different from each other, and they range from showcasing amaretto just a little bit, maybe it's lost in there, to like a full-on amaretto cocktail. I do think after going through this experience that if I was shopping for a bottle of amaretto, I would go for that Lazzaroni. Much more subtle, sweet, subtle, delicious, a little bit of bitterness, and not too much of that marzipan-y almond oil flavor. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like below. Consider subscribing to this channel if you have not already. Otherwise, if you want to support this channel more, you can check out my Patreon page, and I will see you on the next one.